Welcome, fellow humans. Today I'm going to tell the story of how my very young childhood brain managed to make a series of decisions that led to me burning my thumb. If you would find that topic distressing, then this would be a good one to skip, but I did not get too seriously harmed, just so you know. But I was in the car with my father. I was in the front seat, and my brothers were in the back seat because my father had some errands that he had to run, and he didn't have any better options than to take us with him. And while he was focused on driving, I was looking at the different controls that the car had because I didn't have anything better to do. And so I was just kind of looking at them and kind of poking at them. And my father didn't seem to mind, so I figured that this was okay. I wasn't interacting with anything that had to do with the driving itself. And I noticed that one of the silver buttons was shinier than all of the others. And so I started, touching it and poking it. And when I pushed it, it went in a bit and clicked, which was very surprising. And given that I was very young, I thought it was pretty cool. So I started clicking that button every now and then, and my father was ignoring my doing so, so I figured, okay, this is fine. And then we got to the bank, and my father said that he needed to go into the bank, and it would be only a very short trip. He'll be right back out, and, my brothers could get him if they needed to, but he didn't expect there to be any problems. And he went inside. This was before the proliferation of ATMs, so needing to run errands at the bank was pretty common. And while he was at the bank, like just after he left, I had this insight. I had been pushing the button, but I hadn't tried pulling the button. Honestly, I didn't expect it to do anything, but I had to try. So I reached out to that shiny button I had been clicking, and I pulled it, and it came out in my hand. I was so amazed, and I was holding a little thing. It was a little tube with a button on the end. And so I looked at the tube, and inside the tube, there was a little red thread that looked like it was caught in the bottom. And I thought, oh, I should get the thread out. So I stuck my thumb into the tube to get the thread out. Looking back, I find it interesting that I would use my thumb rather than a forefinger, but I was really young and I didn't have that level of thought about how to be coordinated and dexterous. Not that I'm very dexterous now, but I'm at least a little better than I was as an extremely young child. And after sticking my thumb in, my brain had me take my thumb out without me having to think about it consciously at all. My brother has said that what he noticed first was the smell, because I had burned my thumb. And at this point, my brother went to get my father, and one of my brothers stayed with me. And my father came out of the bank and looked at what had happened and immediately went to drive me home to take care of it. I would learn several things from this. One of the things I learned is that at the time period that this was happening, cars had a thing called cigarette lighters. I had never seen a cigarette lighter in use because neither of my parents smoked nor liked having people smoke around them. This was probably also why the button was so shiny. Nobody ever touched it, so it didn't get little bits of dirt or grease on it or anything. And apparently, clicking a cigarette lighter on a car is how you activate it to make it hot. So if I hadn't been poking it all that time, it wouldn't have been a problem when I then pulled it out. I also would shortly afterward learn to recognize the word lighter. I couldn't read anything before then, but I did my best to learn lighter. And this was also before they used a picture of a cigarette and a little cloud of smoke for it, which they would switch to. If they had done that when I was a child, I do wonder if I would have figured it out and been more careful, because I knew that fire was dangerous and I knew about the idea of smoking. And I probably wouldn't have done that, but I can't say for sure because I was very, very young and obviously not the best at decision making. But my father took me home and had me soak the thumb in cold water, and then being stuck with the fact that he still needed to run the errand at the bank, and banks don't stay open for very long, he left me home with my brothers and went to go do that. And this is when my younger older brother invented the game Roly Poly. I was stuck just sitting with my thumb in a glass of cold water with the instructions that I should keep it there for at least 15 minutes. And this was very boring. And so my brother invented the game of rolling a ball back and forth while we had our legs out as a V so we could catch the ball if we didn't manage to easily have it come right to us, so I didn't have to get up since my thumb was in water. Even at this extremely young age, I knew that this wasn't much of a game or much of an invention, but was really just my brother trying to keep me entertained when I was hurt. And I did appreciate it then, and I do appreciate it now that he wanted me to have a slightly more enjoyable time while I was sitting with my thumb in a glass of water. So I don't expect Roly Poly to really catch on, even with the 3 to 4 year old set, but it was a useful game for that particular point of time in my life. And I learned many valuable things about it, and my thumb healed up so completely that I don't even remember for sure which of my thumbs it was that I stuck in the lighter, because I hadn't developed a clear-handedness at the time, so it really could have gone either way. But my main point of my story is that young children make very bad decisions, and this is why, of course, people have to be really careful around them. But I'm very glad that this is so much less of a risk now, because I haven't even seen a car with a cigarette lighter in a while, and when they do exist, you do have the little picture instead of actual writing, which is much, much clearer. But anyway, that's my story, and if you liked it, please click like, and if you know someone who might find it interesting, then share it, and if you'd like more similar content, then subscribe. But most of all, if you have any thoughts, questions, similar stories, I would love to read your comments. Thank you.